This lioness is the subject of 3 best-selling books. One of these 3 ladies is the author of those books. What is your name, please?
My name is Joy Adamson.
My name is Joy Adamson.
My name is Joy Adamson.
Only one of these ladies is the real Joy Adamson. The other 2 are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cast, Barry Nelson, and Kitty Carlisle on To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Adamson, the headache remedy with a special combination of ingredients to relieve pain, fight depression, calm jittery nerves. Adamson. Good evening, panel.
Hi, Bud.
How are you all? As if I didn't know. You're full of exuberance tonight, aren't you? You know, tonight's program marks the beginning of our 7th year on the air with To Tell the Truth, and we would all like to thank you, the members of our viewing audience, for making this anniversary possible. We thank you. Panel, will you please open up envelope number 1, which you have not seen before. Take out your your affidavit card, and follow along as I read. As I fluff. I, Joy Adamson, an Austrian by birth, have spent many years as the wife of a game warden in Kenya, Africa. I grew to love the land and its animals. My husband and I adopted and brought into our home a lion cub. We were so successful in domesticating her that when she grew up and it became time for her to return to the bush, we had to retrain her so she could survive in her native habitat. Eventually, she found a wild mate and had 3 cubs. She and her offspring maintained contact with us. The story of Elsa the lioness is the subject of 2 books which I wrote. The first is called Born Free, and the second, Living Free. Together, they have sold 2 million copies in 18 languages. When Elsa died, we were forced to move her orphaned cubs to their new home in a game preserve. This story is the subject of my 3rd and final book to be published in April. It is called Forever Free. Signed, Joy Adamson. Now, panel, these 3 ladies all claim to be Joy Adamson, best-selling author about a lion. And let's start the questioning with Kitty Carlisle. Kitty?
Thank you, Bud. May I first say, whichever you 3 are, Joy Adamson, it's a marvelous book, and all my children loved reading it. Could you tell me, number 1, how old Elsa was when you first got her?
She was a couple of days old only.
Number 2, where did you keep her in the house?
Mostly outside. Especially when she grew bigger.
But in the beginning?
In the beginning, also inside.
Number 3, can you tell me who the Baroness Blitzen was?
She was a Danish Baroness, and her real name was Tennyson.
Thank you. Number 1, when you had to put Elsa away, what happened to the little cubs when she died? Why did you have to send them away? Why couldn't they survive? Elsa's offspring.
Oh, Elsa's offspring?
Yes.
I mean, they are in the Serengeti Park now.
Why couldn't they survive? In your house?
You mean without being put in the park?
Yes.
They weren't in the house, I don't believe.
They were not in the house.
Oh, they
came occasionally with Elsa to visit us.
I see.
Tom?
Well, let me continue that line of questioning, if I may. Number 1, why couldn't they survive in their natural wild state where they were?
Well, because they were not adjusted to the wild life. They had been accustomed to a kind of companionship, human companionship.
Oh, I see. Number 3, what is a group of lions called?
Pride.
Could you tell us why? Why is a group of lions called a pride?
I can't give you this answer, but I think all animals have different expression for a flock of geese, or a herd of antelopes, or a pride of lions, and sort of hunting expressions.
Thank you.
Peggy Cast.
Number 2, how many brothers and sisters did Elsa have when you found her?
She had 2 sisters.
Thank you. Number 3, where did those lion cubs go?
He went to Rotterdam to the Blijdorp Zoo in Holland.
Thank you. Number one, when you went, if your husband's game, or you must have gone on long trips, did you take Elsa with you?
Oh, certainly.
Thank you. Number three, where did she sleep?
In various places.
I see. And number one, on what kind of a vehicle would you take on those long trips?
She used to ride on our Land Rover.
I see. Number two, did you ever go swimming with Elsa?
She loved the water.
I see.
Barry.
Number one, could you tell me what changes in personality came over Elsa after she was put out in the jungle and then you saw her again?
She was a little more reserved towards us. However, she had kept all her friendliness and her affection, which was used, however, more sparingly.
Thank you. Number three, could you tell me, why did you return her to the bush? Didn't you want to, did you have to go somewhere, or?
She had been always used to play with wild animals, and we found it impossible to put her behind bars.
Thank you. Number two,
That's all we have time for, I'm sorry to say. It is time for you now to beat the bush, if you will, and mark your ballots. Mark them at once, without consultation. Voting as you do so for number one, number two, or number three. And our team of challengers will, of course, receive the customary $250 for every incorrect vote. All ballots marked? All right. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number two. I thought she showed a particular kind of affection for this wild animal that she trained, and I must say it was a very difficult choice to make for me.
Peggy.
Well, I voted for number three because she writes books and knew who Isaac Denison was, so I voted for her. Besides, I thought she seemed very affectionate toward the lion.
Barry?
So what? You want to step outside and repeat that?
like Tom, I was a little, I hated to make a decision too, only because I really can't, I'm not sure. But number one, I thought, showed a great affection. I also thought I detected a little scar. No,
And Kitty, how did you mark
Well, as
your
you can
ballot?
see, I made a terrible mess. I voted for number two.
Kitty.
I think you voted for everybody.
I started to vote for number three, but number three said that Isaac Denison's real name was Isaac Denison, and that was her nom de plume, and her real name was the Baroness Blitzen. I think maybe you got mixed up. But anyway, I thought it was number two, and I may be wrong, as you can see.
All right, there we have it now, and we approach our moment of truth without fear or trepidation, but tamely, as a tame lion might. And let's find out immediately which one of these ladies is actually the keeper, tamer, and writer about, as a best-selling author, the lioness. So will the real Joy Adamson please stand up? I'd like to say that Joy Adamson is on her first visit to the United States and is lecturing here in the interest of wild game conservation. Best of good luck to you.
Thank you.
Number one, may we have your real name and what you really do, please?
My name is Gisela Quitzau. I'm an interpreter in 4 languages, and I work with an international law firm.
And number two, you got the, shall we say, lion's share of the votes. What is your real name?
My name is Gisela von Bitzleben, and I'm a masseuse.
Well, we thank you, ladies. It was a lot of fun, and in taking the score, I'm sure you know ahead of me that what you have done is to defeat the panel to the extent of 3 incorrect votes at $250 each. That's $750, ladies, and that's not bad. Hope it brings you joy and happiness. We thank you for being with us. That, of course, is from Adamson, and on your way out, you'll receive a gift package of all the fine products from the makers of Adamson. Good night, and God bless you. I present our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Paul Darcy.
My name is Paul Darcy.
My name is Paul Darcy.
Very well, panel, you've had a look. Will you now give a listen to and follow along with your own copies of this affidavit? I, Paul Darcy, represent a new breed of American soldier. I am a Master Sergeant in the 8th Special Forces Group of the United States Army. Special Forces personnel are trained both mentally and physically in the highly specialized skills needed for modern guerrilla and counterinsurgency operations. Working in 12-man detachments, we are proficient in demolition and construction, parachute jumping, scuba diving, judo, ambushing, and evasion and escape. We can be effectively introduced behind enemy lines by air, ground, or water. We can live and fight in mountain, jungle, desert, or Arctic areas. We are privileged to wear the green beret. Our motto is to liberate from oppression. Signed, Master Sergeant Paul Darcy.
Get in touch with Game Show Network. Log on to our website and play our games or email us your questions and comments. It's www.gameshownetwork.com. Game Show Network.
Very well, we have 3 gentlemen here, stalwart, I'm sure you'll agree, each of whom claims to be Paul Darcy, Master Sergeant in the Special Forces. And we'll start this cross-examination with Barry Nelson. Barry?
Thank you, Bud. Number 3, could you tell us where this training takes place?
All over the world.
You don't have a separate unit somewhere that trains in a...
All of the units train, and they train all over the world.
Could you tell me, number 2, something about the green beret that's referred to here?
Yes, sir. The Green Beret, or the beret itself, has always been used by guerrilla forces all over the world, and we're green because we happen to like the color.
Number 1, where have these forces been used? Just 1 or 2 places, could you tell me?
They're actively utilized in Laos, Vietnam.
Number 3, where, when did this type of unit start?
In 1952.
Pearl of great price. Kitty.
Number 1, what is a Christie?
It's a type of ski turn.
Number 2, and a stem?
The stem is also a ski turn.
Number 3, when you jump out of a plane, do you all still yell Geronimo, or is that passé?
Well, I just close my eyes and jump.
Number 1, what kind of mental training do they give you for this particular kind of work?
The mental training involved for the Special Forces units involves what we call area orientation.
So you know the terrain and so forth?
The terrain, the climate, the cultural aspects of the people we're going to serve.
Thank you.
Tom.
I like the way he said the people they're going to serve, rather than the people that they're going to fight.
Yes, bravo.
That's a good way to fight a war, I think. Number 1, there was a famous plastic explosive used in World War II. Can you remember the name of that? Trinitrotoluene? Well, number 2, it had a kind of a code name. Do you happen to remember number 2?
No, sir.
Number 3, that plastic explosive. It could be used to fill any cavity. It was highly malleable. Do you remember what it was?
C4 or C3.
Number 3, what unit corresponded with yours in World War II? Do you remember? Number 3. Units that went in ahead of an attacking force, for instance, and paved the way for those boys. Some of the bravest men, I think, in the world were involved in that kind of work in World War II.
Commandos and the Rangers.
Thank
Peggy.
you.
Thank you. Number 2, is your outfit an outgrowth of the Rangers?
In a way, yes, ma'am.
I see. Now, would you please tell me, if you go in 12-man groups and you go in by scuba diving, you kind of all just come up on the beach? Like, I mean, do you all, like, just go across it like a bunch of porpoises? I mean, you have to have 12 people in your outfit, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I mean, you all, like, land at the same time, or do you have like a meeting place and you all converge there?
It makes a difference how large a group is going in, and it makes a difference where we are going at the time.
Oh,
if it can take 12 men, we'll take 12. We can also go as individuals in 2s, 4s, 8s.
And that's all the time we have. So as individuals, will you kindly get to the business of marking your ballots right now, panel? Mark them at once without change, and mark them clearly.
I'm done.
And without consultation, voting as you do for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked? Did you self-in?
No.
Well, emerging from that gorgeous oyster shell as you are, you do the rest of us in right there. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 3. Well, I thought that it might be reasonable to suppose that he would know the name of that plastic, the real sergeant. Number 2 had First Sergeant's stripes on. I don't know whether that influenced me or not, but it says on the thing that he's a Master Sergeant, so I don't know.
Peggy. Peggy, what is your vote?
I voted for number 3, too, because, gee, I sort of forget why. Oh, yes, I know. When she said about jumping, about Geronimo, he looked astonished, because, you know, nobody ever really said that. That was only in the movies. I think.
Barry, your vote.
Number 1 speaks the way you think a master, you know, a sergeant should be speaking and all, but I was influenced by number 3's answer about the plastic bomb.
And Kitty.
Well, I'm often fooled by the panel in those answers that are given about which I know nothing. I voted for number 1 because number 1 followed the philosophy that is mentioned in the affidavit, to liberate from oppression, and I liked what he said about fighting this kind of a war.
All right, there we have it once again. With our moment of truth staring us right in the face, we'll proceed to it directly and immediately and find out which one of these gentlemen actually is a Master Sergeant in the Special Forces. So will the real Paul Darcy please stand up? Thank you very much. Number 1, may we have your real name and what you really do, sir?
Yes, my name is Bruce Ackerson. I'm sales director for the Dental Insurance Plan Incorporated.
I guess you could say that's similar to Blue Floss. Number 2, may we have your real name and what you do?
Yes, sir. My name is Chuck Bruce, and I'm part owner of Chuck's Composite, located here in New York. It's a restaurant.
Well, gentlemen, we thank you, and we're sorry that the panel was smart enough to cut down the take, but at least there's one incorrect at $250, and that is yours from Anderson, as well as a gift package of the fine products from the makers of Anderson, and our thanks to you for making our evening so pleasant. Good night, and God bless you. Now let's have our 3rd team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Ted Shurtliff.
My name is Ted Shurtliff.
My name is Ted Shurtliff.
Panel, will you follow along with your copies of this affidavit? I, Ted Shurtliff, am Director of National Personnel for Kelly Girls Service Incorporated, the nation's largest supplier of temporary woman workers. Every one of my Kelly girls is bonded, insured, and guaranteed. Their ages run from 18 to 78. For a Kelly girl, no job is too difficult, none too strange. One Kelly girl was hired to stand on her head. Another took dictation from a famous author who kept diving underwater to renew his inspiration. Harvard hired a Kelly girl to track the first Russian Sputnik. We even supplied a department store with a temporary shoplifter. One of our girls went to work for a Broadway agent for 3 weeks and wound up married to him. She hired another Kelly girl to send out the wedding invitations. All in all, I have on my payroll more than 70,000 women. Signed, Ted Shurtliff. And each of these gentlemen claims to be the one and only Ted Shurtliff, the man with 70,000 women on his payroll. Let's start this round with Peggy Cast. Peggy?
Mr. Shurtliff, number 1, was your temporary shoplifter experienced?
No, she had to be trained.
I see. Number 2, where did you train her? Macy's?
We didn't train her. The owner of the store trained her.
I see. Number 3, who was the famous author that kept diving under the water?
That was Mickey Spillane.
Mickey Spillane. Well, those are hot books, I guess. Number one, in England, they have a counterpart of the Kelly Girl, a very big employment service there. Do you know what agency that is?
Another division of the...
No, it's not the Kelly Girl. It's an English...
Barry Nelson.
Number 2, what's the most typical job that you get for these girls?
Secretarial work.
Number 3, could you tell me the strangest job that any girl had that you employed?
Well, we've had many strange jobs.
I see that.
Perhaps one we had recently in California where we needed a girl to demonstrate a new meat grinder. Its selling point was that it was small and compact.
Well, but
so we had to find a girl with very large hands. This is not easy.
What about this girl that married the agent? You don't care how hazardous the job is?
Kitty.
Number one, you say these girls are bonded. How much are they insured for?
Liability, $100,000.
They could steal up to $100,000 and you get it back.
Well, damage of any sort.
That they would cause?
Yes.
I see.
That they might cause.
Number two, what did the 78-year-old lady do?
She didn't stand on her head.
Number three, what did she do?
Well, she did routine clerical work. She's a very sharp lady for her age, and she does about 20 jobs a year for us.
Thank you. Number one, what was the youngest girl you ever hired out?
Tom Poston. No. I'm sorry, Tom. I'm sorry, Tom. I'll give you an extra second for that.
All right. Voice. It is cold up here, but... Tell me, do these girls work for you, number two, or is this like a regular employment agency? In other words, do they get paid by their employers after you get them the jobs, or do you always pay them?
This is not an employment agency. This is a service, and they work for us.
That's why you engage $70,000. Then the employers obviously pay you, is that correct?
Exactly, yes.
Number two, do you have main offices?
Yes.
Where are they, please?
Our main office is in New York.
Oh, it is in New York.
Yes.
Number three?
That's all the time we have, I'm sorry to say. So if you want to hire some Kelly girls to mark your ballots, go to it. But mark them, please. That's all I ask. Mark them at once and without consultation as you vote now for number one, number two, or number three. All ballots marked. All right, Tom, for whom did you vote this time?
I voted for number two. He's the only one I got to ask any questions, and I must say he was awfully nice about answering me.
Peggy, what about your selection?
Well, I voted for number one because he looks too young for the job, and that's the way they fool you around here.
Barry, which do you think is the real one?
I've run into a whole Sahara of confusion here, but number two seemed to me to have a kind of forthright way about him, like nothing would surprise him. He'll send any girl anywhere, all right.
And Kitty?
I voted for number two for a very personal reason. I hope he'll forgive me. He's beginning to lose his hair slightly, and a man who employs 70,000 women surely must.
All right, I tell you, there's one thing about this show. The reasoning is sound. Now, let's proceed to the moment of finding out who's what and which is which as we learn which of these is the man with 70,000 women on his payroll. So will the real Ted Shurtliff please stand up? Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you. And number two, you got most of the votes. What is your real name, and how did you lose your... what do you do?
My name is Benham Dangers, and I'm a portrait painter.
And number three, your real name, and what do you do, sir?
Well, my name is David Vaughn. I teach aviation at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio.
You and Tom will have something in common later on. Well, in checking the score, you did very well, as a matter of fact. Only one correct, and that's 1, 2, 3 incorrect. And if you want to do your own adding, you may. It's $250 per incorrect vote. Times 3 is $750. You should have no trouble at all dividing it, and I hope it brings you the same happiness that your present joy at winning over the panel is doing. That, of course, is to you from Adamson, as well as a gift package of all the fine products from the makers of Adamson. If you had fun, we certainly did, and we hope you have a pleasant memory of this show. Goodbye, and God bless you. Reminder. Don't let your Christmas greetings be delayed in the avalanche of last-minute mailings. Mail now. Peggy, our glittery, sparkly one, you got all three right tonight.
You know, first time in a long time.
It was fun, though, wasn't it? Huh?
Yes, I like
What
to
do you
do
call
that.
that dress, Kitty, it's really lovely.
Well, it's like something coming out of an oyster shell.
Yes, it sure is. Well, bless you all for being the wonderful people you are. Good night to you.
Good night, Bob.
Good night to all of you, and don't forget to join us the same time next week, and I'll be with you tomorrow afternoon on the daytime show. And until then, this is Bud Collier saying good night for Anderson and reminding you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Compton production. To Tell the Truth has been brought to you by Sleepy's, the non-narcotic sleeping tablet for a good night's sleep. Sleepy's. This is Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth. The program was pre